Some people say they struggle to learn the Arabic alphabet, so today we're going to learn all the letters together using some mnemonic tricks so that we never forget them anymore. But before starting, let's consider some specificities of the Arabic alphabet. Arabic is written from the right to the left. It has a consonant-based alphabet. This does not mean that vowels do not exist, of course. They do. However, they are not indicated by letters, but rather by diacritics called harakat. There are three of them: a, I, and u. The a vowel is called fatha. The u vowel is called dhamma, while the I vowel is called kasra. Both the a and u vowels are written above the letter, while the I vowel is written underneath it. There are two other diacritics, sukun, which indicates an absence of vowel, and shidda, which indicates a double letter. Both are written above the letter. This means only the I vowel is written underneath it. The alphabet is made up of 28 letters, but it only has 14 graphic forms. Finally, the written form of each letter depends on its position in a word. There is the isolated form, the form as it appears at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, or at the end of it. Even though this might sound challenging, the good news is that in the vast majority of cases, the isolated form of the letter is identical to the way it appears at the end of words. Alright, let's get started. In this video, in order to make things a little bit easier, I have grouped together all the letters that look alike. Letter ba. Ba. This is the English B sound because it looks like an inverted bell. Usually, when there are dots above or beneath letters, the dots will move slightly to the right of the letter when it is at the beginning of a word or in the middle of it. Letter ta. Ta. This is the English T sound that you find in a word like take. At the end of certain words, and more particularly at the end of feminine singular words, ta is written like this. And in that case, it's called ta marbuta. However, this requires an entire lesson for itself, so I'm not going to go into the details here. Just remember that at the end of certain words, ta is written like this. It is sometimes written with a line joining the two dots, which makes it look exactly like a T. Letter tha. Tha. This is the same sound you find in the word three because it has three dots on top of it. Again, sometimes you will see that Arabs write it by joining the three dots to make it look like a triangular hat. Letter noon. Noon. This is the English N sound because it looks like a nipple. Again, the dot moves slightly to the right when the letter is at the beginning of a word or in the middle of it, while its final graphic form looks like its isolated form. Letter ya. Ya. This is the sound you find in the word eyes because it looks like two eyes under heavy bangs. It can also indicate a long E vowel if it comes after a syllable with kasra. Again, you can join both dots to make a line. Letter ha. Ha. This is a strong H sound, like the one you find in the word hook, because it looks like one. Letter jim. Jim. This is the usual z sound that you find in a word like jellyfish, because the jellyfish was caught by the hook, as indicated by the water drop just underneath it. To some extent, it also looks like a giant wave with jellyfish underneath it. Letter Kh, kh. This is the same sound as the Spanish jota. And the dot is on the hook because that's how I'm feeling when I hear Spanish music. Letter sin, sin. This is the typical S sound you find in the word sky because it looks like a cloud in the sky. Letter shin, shin. This is the sound you find in words like shiver or shaking because the rain is coming as indicated by the 3 dots, the raindrops about to fall from the clouds. Again, sometimes you will see that Arabs write this letter by joining the 3 dots. The next group is made up of 4 letters, and it's a bit more complicated because these sounds do not exist in English. But don't worry, the sounds are still close to some English phonemes. Letter Sod, sod. This is a very emphatic S sound. Let's imagine you pronounce the word solid while insisting heavily on the first syllable. But while doing so, you barely open your mouth. The great thing is that graphically, it looks like an Arabic sandal. Letter Dod, Dod. This is a very emphatic D sound. Again, let's imagine you pronounce the word dolphin, but while insisting heavily on the first syllable. Again, while doing so, you barely open your mouth. This letter too looks like a sandal, but this one is a dotted sandal. Letter Ta, Ta. This is a very emphatic T sound. Let's imagine you pronounce the word tall while insisting heavily on the T. But again, while doing so, you barely open your mouth. The sandal has now transformed into a tower. Letter Lo, Lo. This is a very emphatic Th sound. Let's imagine you pronounce the word mother, but while doing so, again, you insist heavily on the second syllable. While doing so, you barely open your mouth, and you slightly put the tip of your tongue out while doing so. This time, it's not a simple tower, it's a dotted tower, and the dot indicates that you slightly put the tip of your tongue out. Now, the following 2 letters are written exactly the same. You can only tell them apart by a diacritic. Letter Fa, Fa. This is the English F sound, like the one you find in infinity, because it looks like half of it. And to indicate it lost its better half, you put a dot on top of the letter. Letter Qaf, Qaf. This is a sound that does not exist in English. Let's imagine you try to pronounce the word cuff, but while doing so, you block the entry of your throat. The great thing is that it looks like an inverted Q with 2 dots on top of it to indicate that it's twice as difficult to pronounce. We've already learned 16 letters. That's fantastic. Congratulations for making it this far. The next group of letters is completely different from the ones we have seen till now. The specificity is that they never get attached to the left. They only have 2 graphic forms, the isolated form and the final form. Letter Alif, Alif. This is the first letter of the Arabic alphabet. It is a long A sound because it looks like a long arm. Sometimes, at the end of certain words, it is written like a ya without the 2 diacritics, and in that case, it's called Alif Maqsura. Letter Dal, Dal. This is the typical English D sound, like the one you find in the word dome, because it looks like a dome that has fallen on the side. Remember that it never gets attached to the left. Letter ذال, ذال. This is the same sound you find in a word like this or that. Again, to indicate that you're using the tip of your tongue to pronounce the sound and to differentiate it from the D dome sound, just add a dot on top of it. Letter ra, ra. This is the rolled R sound that you find in Spanish or in Italian, because it looks like a ribbon or like the ramp of a staircase, like a ribbon or a ramp. Letter Z, Z. This is the usual English Z sound, like the one you find in Zorro, because it looks like the sword of the Z hero. Letter wow, wow. This is the usual W sound that you find in a word like water, because it looks like a water drop. Alright, let's get into the last stretch. The following two letters do not exist in the English language. They are also particular because their graphic forms completely change depending on the position in a word. Letter عين, عين. This letter is very specific to the Arabic language. This sound comes from the very back of the throat. When trying to pronounce this letter, imagine that you're trying to connect all your vocal folds together. When the letter is isolated, it looks like an inverted 3. At the beginning of a word, only the top of the inverted 3 remains. In the middle of a word, you have to add a stroke to close the letter so that it looks like an inverted triangle, which also has 3 sides. At the end of a word, it combines the triangle with the bottom of the inverted 3. This is the first time a letter changes so much, so do not hesitate to take some time to properly practice. Letter غين, غين. This is the same letter as the French R sound. Actually, this letter and the one we have just seen come out of the same spot in the throat. It is spelled exactly like عين. The only difference is the dot on top of the letter. I know this is too easy as a mnemonic trick, but whatever. You can keep in mind that rain sounds like rain, so the dot is a raindrop. And finally, the last 5 letters. I put them together because they do not look like any of the letters we have seen so far, and they do not look alike either. Letter كاف, كاف. This is the typical K sound that you find in English, and it does look like a K to some extent. The main line of the letter has just changed positions and is now lying on the ground. Letter لم, لم. Again, this is the typical L sound of the English language, and it looks like an inverted L, so that's pretty easy. Letter meme, meme. This is the M sound you find in the word mouth because it looks like an open mouth with some drool coming out of it. Letter H, H. This is a very gentle and soft H sound, like the one you find in the word home or hole, because it looks like a hole. At the beginning of a word, you have to add a curl to the hole so that you get 2 holes. In the middle of a word, you also have 2 holes, but one is written above the line while the other is written down the line. And at the end of a word, it looks like a rounded triangle. To practice the pronunciation of this letter, you can't pretend that you're blowing on your glasses to clean them. I think it's a very good trick. Letter Hamza, Hamza. Finally, I'm adding the Hamza letter, which requires an entire grammar lesson for itself, so I'm not going to go into the details here. Just bear in mind that it does not have any specific sound. You just have to pronounce the vowel that comes with it. So either a, e, or u. That's it. Congratulations. You now know the Arabic alphabet. Before wrapping up, let's practice a little bit. This word is pronounced fahima, fahima, and it means to understand. This word is pronounced kataba, kataba, and it means to write. This word is qara'a, qara'a, and it means to read. This one is pronounced shakara, shakara, and it means to thank. This is la'iba, 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 and it means to play. This is rafada, rafada, and it means to refuse. The opposite is qabila, qabila, to accept. This is dakhala, dakhala, and it means to enter. And the opposite is kharaja, kharaja, and it means to exit, to go out. This word means to succeed and is pronounced najaha, najaha. This one means to attend and is pronounced hadara, hadara. Finally, this word is pronounced khasara, khasara, and it means to lose. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope this was useful to you. All the best in your endeavor to learn the Arabic language, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.